In Georgia, you can regain possession of a property from a tenant in just two ways. The tenant conveys possession by giving you the keys, or the marshal conveys possession after a lawful eviction procedure. Here is the big risk with presuming properties are abandoned. If the tenant has apparently moved out but not conveyed the keys to you, or the marshal has not done a legal set out, then you do not have clear possession. If you rekey the property, haul off the junk the tenant left behind, and start the turnkey work for a new tenant, you are at risk for a lawsuit for wrongful eviction. Here's a problem we see several times a year at tenant move out. The tenant has stopped paying rent. The tenant has moved out of the property as far as we can tell, but the tenant has not conveyed keys, and the tenant has left personal property behind in the residence. This may be clothes, furniture, food in the pantry, broken TV, etc. Or it may just be what looks to you like ripe sacks of juicy garbage. In this scenario, you don't have keys, so you don't have possession. What are your options? I'm Andy Wrighton with Atlanta Property Management Group in Atlanta, Georgia. This video is part of a series on do-it-yourself landlording, and this particular video is about a letter I developed which I call Notice of Abandonment of Property. This letter is available for free on our website, atlantapropertymanagement.com, at the DIY landlording page. In this scenario, which I call partial move out, you have two options. Number one, wait for the marshal to come. If you haven't already started an eviction, then you should initiate one beginning with the demand letter, which I describe elsewhere in this series. If an eviction is already in process, wait for the eviction to culminate in a visit from the marshal. This can take months, but if the tenant hasn't given you keys, it is the only way to take possession of the property without the risk of a lawsuit for wrongful eviction. If the tenant relationship has become confrontational, if the tenant has already lawyered up, or if you as a landlord have made any mistakes in the tenant relationship that put you at risk, then it may be in your best interest to wait for the marshal to come so that your risk of wrongful eviction is zero. Option number two, take possession of the property now. Change the locks, throw out all the stuff the former tenant left behind, do all the turnkey work, put the property on the market, get a new tenant in there paying rent. You don't face the delay of waiting for the marshal to come, but you do face the risk for a wrongful eviction judgment. Since your tenant has not turned over keys and has not removed all their stuff, you don't have legal possession, and if the tenant sues you for wrongful eviction, the tenant will win. If you wait for the marshal to come, you face vacancy costs of up to several months, plus the risk the property may be vandalized while vacant, etc. If you take possession before the marshal comes, you risk a judgment for wrongful eviction. Neither of these options is a win for you. Here is a middle path procedure I've developed that is a compromise between waiting for the marshal to come and simply taking possession of the property upon finding that the tenants have moved out. I send the tenant a copy of my form letter, Notice of Abandonment of Property, by several means. I mail a copy to the tenant's last known address, usually the property itself. I send copies by email and text if I can, and I tape a copy of the letter to the front door. I give the tenant notice of a week or so, and after that I rekey the property. I put a lockbox on the front door with a new key in it. I take all the tenant's potentially valuable stuff and put it somewhere on the premises for a few weeks or months. This could be a garage, a closet, a back bedroom, or an outbuilding on the property if there is one. Then I do the turnkey work, working around the old tenant's valuable stuff, and market the property to a new tenant. Let's say 3 weeks have passed and the former tenants show up wanting their valuable stuff. Following my procedure, you can still give the tenants their valuable stuff and even return possession of the property to them if necessary by simply giving them the combination to the lockbox that contains the keys. This strategy does not eliminate all risk, but if you choose to turnkey a property that your tenant has abandoned rather than wait for the marshal to come, it will reduce your risk of a wrongful eviction judgment. I'm not an attorney and I do not provide legal advice. The materials available at this website are for informational purposes only. You should contact your attorney to obtain advice with respect to any particular issue or problem. Good luck out there. If you should decide to seek out professional property management, I hope you'll remember my company, Atlanta Property Management Group.